Hey everyone, this is Steve Wright with SCDLifestyle.com, and you're listening to the SCD Lifestyle Solution Podcast number 12. All right, great. So, again, on the phone with me tonight, my partner in crime, Jordan Reesner. How you doing, man?
I'm awesome. It's the holidays. Life is good.
Yeah, we're down to that this last couple days here. I'm tracking all my shipments. They're converging from around the country for all my gifts this year. It's pretty cool. Cool, man. Great. Well, let's get rolling then. Last week we were talking about obviously the big holiday this week is Christmas. So I think we were talking beforehand that we wanted to go back and kind of revisit some ideas about the holidays and SCD and how we handle it, and maybe some tips and tricks for other people out there who are listening. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, definitely. And you know, I think that one of the things that we see a lot is when the holidays come around, that's when it makes the diet tough. And that's when it presents bad positions, opportunities to cheat, opportunities to fail, and opportunities to feel bad because you're not fitting in socially, you're not participating in your family meals, that kind of thing. So the holidays can be really tough, and we touched a lot on this during Thanksgiving, but we always talk about a couple different approaches when you get together with family for social gatherings, especially around the holidays. And I'll talk about one that I like to use, and then I'll pass it over to you, what you have more experience with. But like I know with me, for a long time, I was really scared to have a setback. So because of that fear, I really didn't want to try to venture off too much into territory where I was cooking food at someone else's house, and I just had a lot of anxiety wrapped around it that I didn't want to tie to the holidays. So for me, when I approached the holidays, it was like, just I'm gonna 100% bring my own food. And it was hard at first with my family because I knew that a lot of them expressed love for me by making me food and that whole process. So I had to kind of say, okay, Grandma, well, let's find a different way for you to love me, and maybe I can help you in the kitchen, but just because I can't eat it doesn't mean that you can't love me. So let's do something else together. Let's, cook some food. Let's clean. Let's do something different. But I just can't eat it. It's not a big deal. But the point is that if I bring my own food, I know that I'm going to feel good. And to me, during the holidays, when I'm around family and friends, I don't want to think about anything else but how I would rather do nothing but be right there in that moment with my family and friends, smiling, laughing, and having fun. And it's because of that that I don't want to think about not feeling good. So I don't want to risk giving up that opportunity by doing something in a position that's going to possibly make me sick. So that was my anxiety around it. So for me, I just said, bring my own food, and I know I'm going to feel good, and that's going to allow me to be present and really enjoy my family and friends and the holidays for what they're meant to be. So I think that that's my main approach going into the holidays. I know I've got like 3 family events in a row, and I've already just told them, don't worry about me, I'll bring my own food. It's not a big deal. So I know that you have a lot more experience like getting involved and engaged with your family and your mom and cooking in that way. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you're going to approach the holidays this season.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I just wanted to add on to what you were talking about and just kind of say it maybe in a different way is that um, an approach that you can take, for the next week or two as we go through the holidays or at any point in time in your life where you have a stressful deadline, you're traveling, et cetera, et cetera. This is one area where having that safe zone or having known foods that you can eat reliably and consistently and know you're going to feel good really comes in handy. So if you have those foods, once again, you start, eating to live, not living to eat. And the result is that you're able to be more present. You're able to concentrate on that big work assignment or the family event or whatever it may be. But, just being able to have that safe zone and know that you're going to feel okay. I think that's really powerful, and I think that's one of the cool things about the way Jordan approaches it. Yeah, for me, I think one thing else Jordan brought up right away that I think is really important, and it's something I struggled with in my first couple family events, is the idea of fitting in and the idea of being included with family, either either them possibly excluding you or you excluding them because you actually don't think that they're going to be accepting of your diet change and that kind of stuff. So it can work both ways. But regardless, it's not worthwhile to spend your mental energy trying to figure out whether you're doing it to yourself or they're doing it to you. What we want to, or what I want to impress upon you, is just the idea that it doesn't matter, that you're making the right choice, you're making a positive choice for your health, and that's the only thing you should care about, and that's the only thing anybody else should care about. So this idea of fitting in or not fitting in because you're eating foods or you're not eating foods, or you're at the same table per se or whatever with the rest of your family, it really should, if you can, wipe it out of your mind as much as possible, because while it's nice to fit in, you don't need it because you're making a healthy choice for you. So you don't need it, but if you do or have the ability to take steps to fit in, it can be nice as well. And so that's kind of where I am, and the fact that during some family events I do work with my family to make foods together, and I will work with them in the kitchen and sort of, instead of them making food for me or something like that and them asking a lot of questions, I work directly with them. I send them recipes, I email recipes all the time. We talk back and forth beforehand. We know what we're going to make. And I work right in the kitchen with my mom and, the rest of my family while we cook. So that's a really cool way to kind of mold SCD into the process of fitting in and kind of work your way into fitting in. But there are some occasions where I just bring my own food as well, or I just tell people, I'm making this choice for me, for my health, and really am. I finally come to the point where I'm okay with not fitting in. Like, I'm okay with them possibly badgering me over why, because my standard answer is always because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel good. So, I guess that's just kind of where I'm coming from, and I'm not sure if you can, look at that and maybe use that for your situation. But I think it is really important to kind of have those mindsets and maybe some pre-planning. Either you plan one way and you're going to bring your food, or you plan the other way and you set up a meal plan with your family. You make sure you send out the recipes, and maybe you pick up some of the ingredients that are normally not SCD legal that other people might confuse, maybe like a garlic spice or something like that. But just by doing one of those two approaches, you can kind of really take the holidays into your hand and still concentrate on being with your family and having a good time, I think.
That's a great dichotomy of choice, Steve, and I think thanks for bringing up the parts I missed on the fact of there's a lot of psychology behind making a decision and going one way or the other, and the Christmas holidays tend to present a lot of opportunities to potentially fall off the wagon or put yourself in a position where you're not going to feel good. So if you pick one or way or the other, it's important that you use psychology against yourself to be successful. And we talk a lot about it in our book, but what it comes down to is, us humans, we have these automatic things that happen. And as much willpower as you'd like to have, you really just don't have much willpower. So you can't really try harder not to cheat. The best thing you can do is operate outside of your mind. Operate outside your human is a little phrase that we've coined lately. So you operate outside your human by setting up these conditions. So you're going to set up the conditions for you to be successful. So for example, what I do to set up the conditions for me to be successful is I know that I have 3 parties in a row, and it's going to be all day New Year's, or all day Christmas Eve, all day Christmas Day, and all day the day after Christmas. So that doesn't leave me a whole lot of time to cook. So I know that if I don't have the conditions in place, then I might end up in a bad position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make all of my food on Christmas Eve morning. I'm going to make a big batch of pork tenderloin. I'm going to bake some chicken. I'm going to do a couple other things, make lots of veggies and stuff like that. So I'm going to have all my food made for the next 3 days before the 3 days happen. And I've got it all planned out. I've got like a little menu written down on what I'm going to eat during all three of those parties. And I know that when I eat those things, I'm going to feel good. So I'm doing a lot of planning. I'm setting up the conditions to operate outside my human, so I don't set myself up in a position where I'm going to make a bad decision, I'm going to give into a craving, or I'm going to do something that's going to make me feel bad. Because the whole point of this holiday season is to be present, be with your family, and enjoy being alive, enjoy being healthy. And you can't do that if you end up in a position where you do something that makes you feel bad. And that's not going to let you be present with your family. And then you have to wait till next Christmas, which is another year away. So operate outside your human and set up the conditions. Do you have anything to add on that, Steve?
Yeah. I just kind of want to build off that great point that you brought up about operating outside your human. Obviously that's like an inside term we use, so people probably don't know what that means, but it's kind of an idea that we've hatched around this idea that Jordan spoke about, where you only get so much willpower in a day, and if as the research shows, food and what we eat is really influenced by a lot of things. It's not only influenced by what we crave and what we want to eat, but it's also can be really influenced by the environment, by your past, your past memories. So why it's especially hard sometimes for Christmas is because you've throughout your life you've probably been surrounded by sweets, maybe on some of these holidays, warm, fond memories of occasions that involve lots of different foods that maybe you're not going to eat this Christmas. And so that kind of throws you into a catch-22. You're going through all these emotions of these great memories. You're in a great environment with family and friends with a lot of, delicious smelling food, and it just can slip your mind. Or you just might not be able to say no. And it's really easy to do, and I think everybody's done it. It just happens because sometimes you're just really not in control of the decisions, because there's these things called triggers, and when they happen, it's just like an automatic behavior that just happens, and you're like, oh, I didn't want to eat, a third handful of almonds, but it just happened because I was watching TV, and that's what I do when I watch TV. I just don't even look at the portions I'm eating. But these triggers happen in all different areas surrounding food and environment and that kind of thing. So bringing it back to what we were talking about, to avoid the triggers and to avoid this possible situation where you might not even be cognizant of the action you're taking around some food choices that might make you sick, is to set up the conditions like Jordan was talking about. And, Jordan talked about, one way to set them up, and I wanted to kind of throw out a couple more ways that you could set up the conditions. So say that you are at a point in the diet where you're doing almond flour, or even not necessarily doing almond flour, but you're making some kind of desserts. You're making some SCD legal treats for the holidays, for the parties, and that kind of thing. So one thing that I've found to help me is that if I make like 2 batches of cookies and I put them all in one big box, they never last. It's that whole kind of like out of sight, out of mind thing. So, the trigger here is that I just see this big amount of cookies, and it's just so easy for me to grab them. So if I make that same 2 batches of cookies and then I split them up into baggies, either like 4 baggies or 6 baggies or however many baggies you want, or say you're going to a party, maybe you bring your own little cookie platter with 3 different kinds of SE legal cookies and only a preset amount on each. That's one way to eat something that's SE legal and not end up binging on it because you're at the environment, you're not paying attention, and you might just go crazy on it. So that's another way to set up the conditions, is know that, in the past, it's really hard for you to stay away from almond butter or almond flour or this food or that food. And so if you break up the portions as soon as you get done baking it or as soon as you get done cooking it and just kind of store them away, it'll make it a lot easier for you to be successful. But I think one of the major point here for setting up your conditions is it's just pre-planning. It's just really thinking through the scenario and thinking to yourself, okay, I'm like Jordan said, I got 3 parties, 3 parties, 3 different days. That means really I only have cooking time at this one day for 3 hours, and I have to feed myself for 6 meals or 7 meals or something like that. And so you really almost have to count that out. And it might be that maybe you can, maybe Jordan can cook breakfast on each of those days, but for lunch and dinner each of those days, he's not going to have any time to cook because, the kids are opening gifts and the adults are doing their thing. So maybe he only needs 6 lunches and dinners and doesn't have to worry about breakfast. But that's just something that, you have to do the pre-planning, really think out the next, 28, 48, 72 hours, whatever you need to get through, and that'll help you set up the conditions so you can be successful.
That's a great point. And, when you talk about willpower and operating outside your human, those are things that you have to really look at inside yourself and say, have I ever tried to do X and did it work? So for instance, like, when's the last time you said to yourself, if I just try harder, I'll save more, or if I just try harder, I'll lose more weight, or if I just try harder, I'll go to the gym, or if I just try harder, I'll get 8 hours of sleep, or if I just try harder, I'll stop cheating on the diet, or whatever. How many times have you said that and it never worked? That's your human element. That's normal. That's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You only have so much willpower in a day. And usually it's used up pretty quickly. So it's hard to try harder to do things. So the whole concept of operating outside your human is to say, I'm a human and this is what the deal is, and I have to set up conditions outside that so I can be successful. So that's the whole take-home point, I think, there with that, to close that loop a little bit. And I think one more thing to kind of get into when you're looking at the holidays is sort of zoom out a little bit and say, Steve, what do you think about when you think about the point of the holidays and the point of health being a choice? So your health is a choice, and we're entering into this holiday season and we're worrying about food and social situations, but what's the big picture about health being a choice and the holidays?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And it's always a good idea, I think, to really zoom out and view a problem or anything in life from several different levels. So, this idea that health is a choice and kind of backing out, to me, it happens a lot around family get-togethers or at birthdays, New Year's Eve, where I really start to, it's really dawns on me when you're in a large group of people, and I know that I've been doing everything in my power to feel good. So when I can feel good, and I, in previous experiences have felt bad or missed out on parties, or even one area where I missed out a lot on, I was physically at the party and I wasn't even physically on the toilet, but the majority of my mental energy was spent thinking about gas and cramping and, oh crap, what did I eat, or when's the next diarrhea coming? So that was just like mental energy that I wasn't even allowed to spend on the environment that I was in this great celebration of being together with your family and friends. So I think it's just really empowering, actually, to me to be in a large group of people like that and be able to take advantage of all the opportunities that are laid in front of me. Do I want to go skiing? Sure, I want to go skiing. Do I want to go to this party? Yeah, I'll be there. I don't have to worry about any consequences of my health or digestion, and I think that's really cool because just being in charge of my own health and taking responsibility for my actions just really sets the mind free, I think. So I don't know if that's what you were going for there, Jordan, but I guess that's kind of what comes to mind for me.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I just brought it up because when I look at going through the holidays when I was sick versus going through holidays now, it's a totally different experience. And, you know, I think just high level, what I'm trying to say is that health is a choice, right? And you don't have to experience life sick. And that's part of what we're trying to do with this diet is get people to make the choice to be healthy and take control of a disease that they might otherwise not feel in control of. So the whole point is that the holidays have a meaning behind them and experiences that you go through. And when you're sick, you can't think of anything else. And that's not a good way to go through something that's supposed to mean a lot. So if you can choose to be healthy and you start this diet and you start to feel good, carry that through the holidays and make it a point to say, I want to make sure no matter what that I feel good this holiday season so that I can enjoy it. And I'm going to do anything and everything I can in my power to make that happen. So set up the conditions. I'm going to make food till I'm up till 4 in the morning just so I have it and I don't have to worry about it. I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do to feel good. And that's all that's going to matter. And when you're happy and present and engaged, your family's not really going to care that you're not eating with them eventually because the reality is they're going to be a lot happier that you just feel good. So I think that was the main thing I was trying to dig there into. But I guess to bring it back around and sort of wrap this up, give me like a couple of minutes on your final thoughts about what you're planning to do this holiday season and just sort of a final message on what you're thinking going into the holidays and what advice you have for people that are also doing the same.
Yeah. Okay. So to bring it back around, like we talked about again, we're looking at this from several levels. So on a micro level, it's setting up the conditions and cooking. One level above that is, knowing yourself and knowing the situation and knowing you're human and what you normally take and then accounting for that. And then one level above that is looking at the entire experience and being able to be present and to really enjoy it for what it is and embrace your health and embrace the people around you. So I think that's kind of my final zoom in, zoom out view of what we were talking about here tonight. But I think for me this holiday season it's going to be pretty special because this will be my first Christmas where I'm feeling this well, and it really is honestly just pretty awesome. It's sad and awesome at the same time for me to sit around in large groups of people and look around and see other people who are sick, and that makes me really hurt. And they might be not, a lot of them aren't sick with digestive concerns, and the ones that are, we usually talk about it. And so, um, in several ways, it makes me sad and happy because it makes me sad that there's other people out there who are dealing with things that I used to deal with, and so I know that they could, maybe if they did some other actions and did some other things to really take care of their health or take it, not necessarily take care of, but get in charge of their health, make their own decisions, that they could be where I am right now. And then that also excites me because I want to, really try to talk with and help as many people as I can at the same time. And I really feel that, going from sick and giving all of my, doing everything that a doctor ordered me to do, whether I thought it was right or not, to now, coming full circle and suggesting things to a doctor is super empowering when you talk to other people and you realize that they're just not thinking at that level and they just haven't really made the decision to take their health into their own hands yet. So, I really try to spread that message to my family no matter what they're dealing with. And, when it comes to the food, I usually kind of take the route of working with the family to cook things. I actually just kind of like at the biggest party that I'm going to, there'll probably be like 15 or 20 dishes there. I only know of 3 that are going to be legal for me to eat, so I'm just going to eat those 3. I know I think like the beans, the squash, and the turkey. So, um, I'll probably snack on some fresh fruit, something like that during the night, and some fresh vegetables. But I've kind of gotten over the idea that I need to have this gourmet meal. I'd rather just not really inconvenience my family members, allow them to make one or two dishes that I know I can feast on and just fill up on, and then just go on with the night. So that's pretty much how I'm approaching almost all the parties. And I'll be baking some cookies with my mom, and that'll be some good times. So we're gonna experiment with some different recipes. But yeah, that's my plan for the Christmas, and I hope everybody out there has a great one. And I hope that you learned some stuff tonight on the call. So Jordan, what you talked a little bit about your plan, but why don't you do the same thing, kind of sum it up and bring it home with your takeaway?
Well, like I said, my number one focus is feeling good, and this is my uh, second Christmas feeling good, so that's pretty cool, and I'm excited about it. And I think that my plan is I have all my meals mapped out. I'm going to make them on Christmas Eve morning, and I'm going to eat them all 3 days in a row, and it's going to be great. And I know I'm going to feel good, and I'm not going to think about my health, and I'm not going to think about my poop, and I'm not going to think about any of that stuff for 3 entire days. And I know that, and it's going to be good. I think that the big takeaway for me is that this is the second Christmas where I'm feeling good, and I see a lot of family that I don't necessarily see very often. And it's funny because I'm getting people and really like cousins of cousins of cousins that are emailing me about their poop all of a sudden, which I think that even though I say I don't want to think about poop, I'm probably going to be ending up in a lot of conversations about other people's poop. So it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, they've really stopped asking me about what I eat, and they just want to ask me how they can get better. So I think the big takeaway is health is a choice, and it's an attractive choice. And people will eventually, they'll try to find out more, and they'll try to look to you for advice and look to you and maybe see what you know that they might not know. So set up the conditions so you can be successful and feel good, and give people advice on their poop, because that's always fun.
Yeah, poop talks. Love it. Cool. Well, we just want to wish everybody out there who's listening happy holidays, and thank you for listening. And this has been the SD Lifestyle Solution Podcast number 12.